the species were fixed. Right. God had made all these different species and they didn't interact and they were eternal, they were fixed. Right. The scientific revolution, amongst other things, progressively showed that all these things that people imagined were fixed were in fact themselves in a process of continual change, all the way from the Big Bang to the present ultimate development of the universe. Everything was in the process of change. Nothing is absolutely fixed. Now, but when we look at the development of human thought, we find, and this is true of us as individuals, true, if you like, babies, and how their ideas develop, and the human race as a whole, we begin by identifying fixed things, and this is necessary. You know, the baby begins by, this is my mother, this is my father, that's the milk, this is my brother, and so on, that's my sister, and what's the difference between them, right? The human species has to begin with, this berry is poisonous, this one isn't. That's a dangerous wild animal, that one isn't. That's edible, that's not, and so on. And making fixed distinctions. And this business of making fixed distinctions between things and then drawing conclusions from these fixed distinctions was at the foundation of the approach to philosophy of Aristotle and what is called formal logic. Aristotle built a whole system of thinking about the world that we still use today based on this idea of fixed distinctions between something is something or it isn't. It's a table, it's a chair, these are different, and you can't be a table and a chair at the same time, or it makes no sense to say that the same thing can be in two places at the same time, and you try to avoid contradictions, contradicting yourself. You know, there's a whole system of logic known as the syllogism. A syllogism is you put certain propositions forward, A is such and such, B is such and such, and therefore C follows. All men are mortal, Patrick is a man, therefore Patrick is mortal. For sound reasoning. The notion of sound reasoning was based on the idea that you didn't contradict yourself. Now, tremendously useful this. Works very well for a whole host of purposes. But ultimately, when we understand that everything is changing and everything is in the process of becoming something else, this starts to break down. All fixed definitions, as Trotsky was putting it, start to fray at the edges. They pass from one into another. Trotsky once said, he said, a concept, he used a rather homely analogy, but he said, it's like a loop in knitting. You knit a stitch, it's like a stitch, and each stitch is linked to another. And if you pull the thread, the stitch can unravel. But you have concepts and thinking a series of these things. So a nice way of thinking that on the one hand you fix things, but on the other hand, ultimately they fray at the edges and move into other things. Now, the dialectics is a way of understanding that process, because as Marxists, as revolutionaries, and we're looking at social change, we're dealing with intimately the processes of change, and we need a way of thinking that understands that.